Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894 for a Leicester versus City preview. The Premier League is back, the international break is over. Let's get right into it. Okay, Dara, as I said, the Premier League is back and we have a pretty tough fixture in Leicester. It's usually a pretty tough place for us to go, the King Power. And let's not forget, just a matter of weeks ago, they did beat us in the Community Shield, albeit a second/third string team for us. But it is quite a team for us once again, without a few players. We know due to suspensions. But anyway, before we get into that, how are you feeling about this game? We've won our last two, Arsenal and Norwich. No disrespect to Arsenal and Norwich, but they weren't two of the toughest opponents. We bagged 10 between both those games. This will undoubtedly be tougher.
Leicester are in a weird kind of spot now. They've not been exactly great to start the season. They got lucky in the first game, and then they got thumped by West Ham. I'm not sure what the last game was, but I think we're looking good coming into this. You know, Torres he's at the scoring another one over in the international break. Mahrez obviously has a punch on his back. I think we're all set up here. I'm feeling good going into it. I never feel good going into games.
I'm kind of 50-50. I think I'm on the same side of the fence as you in that I do feel excited. 10 goals in 2 games. Our newfound striker in Ferran Torres has just scored for Spain. I think he scored at least once, if not twice, when we were there for the Arsenal game the other week. And the team is playing well. The team is full of confidence. But I do also fear Leicester specifically, not just because of the players they have, but they've got a serious point to prove. The conversation around the Premier League in the top 4 this year is all City, Chelsea, Liverpool and United, right? Leicester just fell outside that top 4 last year because of their own sloppy mistakes, and Brendan Rodgers undoubtedly will feel like he has a massive point to prove. Now, it's very early on in the season. If he probably feels if he can get a win over City in front of the full home crowd, not Community Shield, this game means something. This is 3 Premier League points. It's sending out a statement. People will suddenly have to start to say, well, maybe Leicester are actually, fighting their way into this conversation. I think they made a few decent signings. Didn't they sign Patson Daka? Was it from Leipzig as well? He's not a bad player. We know too well about Jamie Vardy. His goals are usually inevitable, is the joke between City fans, because he does seem to score against us all the time. And of course, speaking of goals, we have an issue in goals, don't we? Due to that whole mess in Brazil versus Argentina the other day, players getting hauled off the pitch. Our keeper is suspended as it stands. I've seen some talking about the potential for Jesus and Ederson to be allowed to play, but with Carson in nets, does that put you, or Carson as stands in nets, does that put you at any unease?
Yeah, to be honest, it's something to really get around. I mean, he's not exactly what he was, and even what he was is not half of what Ederson will be. It does concern me, but I think we just have a bit of defensive solidity. The only thing I'd be afraid of is set pieces coming in. Like, that's where you conceded a lot of it from Newcastle. I think they scored from a rebound of a penalty. They scored off a corner. That'd be the thing that I'm most concerned about. Considering their counter-attacking team as well, there's going to be a lot of set pieces for them. So I'd be lying if I said if I wasn't very nervous for going in. But I think we'll be good enough at the back to just hold them out.
No disrespect to Spurs here. I know they did beat us in the opening day of the season, but we kind of write that off. We pretend that didn't happen. It was too early. But I do feel up until this point, we haven't had a real defensive challenge, definitely in the league anyways. I know the Community Shield Leicester did pose a bit of a threat, but like I said before, that was a weaker team. This will be our first defensive challenge. I mentioned briefly Patson Daka and Jamie Vardy. You're more clued in with other Premier League teams than I am. Where do you think the main threat will come from? How are you feeling that our defence can hold up against it, bearing in mind it is their first real challenge together as a unit this season?
To be fair, you can't sit down and ignore it. I think Maddison, I'm not sure. Sorry?
He's so old though, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he is. He still has that bit of pace about him. Like, he just ages at this stage. Like, the fella just gets in behind everyone. It doesn't matter how fast you are. He'll shred you. And it's just they have those killer passes in behind. Like, Maddison can pick a pass very easily. I think Perez is still suspended. He won't be able to do much. But they have so much creative force Tielemans as well that they can break down anyone. And if you're getting balls in behind, like, Vardy is the man you want chasing onto it. So that's where I feel that's where they're going to be their main threat is. But then again, like I said, if they don't get out from that, they'll get something from the set piece. Again, you know what Carson's like on set pieces from this small sample of seeing them,
Yeah, listen, my heart goes out to Carson. He was thrown in the deep end, and this is going to be a big challenge for him if he is in nets. But I think you kind of summed up pretty well what sort of threats Leicester pose. We do know they have good players in midfield. I think Yuri Tielemans is pretty good at that role as well. You're talking about, but from a City perspective, anyway, going into this game, I think it's not only crucial for keeping the momentum going of getting 3 points. It'll be 3 in the balance if we win this. But let's not forget that this month we have ahead is absolutely manic. I think there's 6 games 2 or 3 Premier League games. I think this one, Southampton and Chelsea. None of these are easy games. And then of course you have PSG away as well. And this is the very first one of that lot. It would help a lot for momentum and confidence and give us every last percentage of advantage to win this game, because it's not an easy fixture. If they feel we can get a win away to Leicester, keep the momentum rolling, hopefully get a win over Southampton next week, and then Champions League, and then you've got Wickham, which is the biggest one of the month. You know what I mean? Just keeping the momentum going. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, 100%. You have to pick up results if you want to. Like, you have to pick up the results in the smaller games. You want to keep bringing the momentum into the bigger ones, and we have a good few big games. But even Southampton, which you might look and say that's a small game, it's still vital. If we don't pick up on, like you said, Tottenham, we didn't win. We're gonna have to get as many points as we can, because we don't want anyone running away with it. Every game from now on is just crucial until we get to those little dead rubbers in the Champions League, if they're even this one this season with the group we have. The only breather we're going to get really is Wickham, hopefully, but I can't see much let up from now until mid-January. Not even January. January's going to be packed full of fixtures. I can't see a let up until the little winter break again.
Of course, when you would think Wickham will be a bit of a let off or a let up for some players, Pep does love the Carabao Cup, so there's every chance they'll put out a full strength team. But we were saying it all through the middle of that massive 30-game run, whatever it was last season, that winning breeds winning, and it's time to get into that zone again. It's time to tune into that zone again, not wait till after Christmas to do it. Let's get off to a win against Leicester and start building momentum, get wins, because winning breeds winning. It's what we were saying the whole time last year, and it worked. We got our silverware. Anyways, that is our 2 pence on the actual game. Let's get over into our starting 11 now. Okay, so as always, this is our predicted starting 11. We are not in the know. It's just what we think the team will look like. Anyway, as we said before, Ederson, as it stands, is suspended. Steffen is either recovering from COVID or still has it, but he's going to be out due to quarantine anyway. So that leaves us with Scott Carson in the nets. He's played one game in the past, I don't know, was it 10 years or something? And that was against Newcastle last year. And he did fine. He saved a penalty. We'll put the goals he conceded down to defensive errors. But listen, it's kind of just a hit and hope with him this Saturday. In the back four, we have Zinchenko, Laporte, Diaz and Walker. 4 very trusted players. We heard Laporte got a bit of a knock on his hip during the international break, if I'm not mistaken, but he seemed to recover really quickly and he played the next game. Diaz had a decent international break. Walker, solid as always, and Zinchenko did decent with Ukraine. This, at the moment, is probably our best back four we can field. Dara, what do you think?
Yeah, and you have to kind of have a shout on there for Cancelo to be in there, but he's had a really good season at the start. Like, I remember at the Arsenal game, he was superb. Wouldn't surprise me if he's in, but Zinchenko himself, he's just solid. I think that's what we always say, 7, 8 out of 10 every game. But there's a lot of different ways you can set up that back four, be it with Cancelo in or Zinchenko in. I don't think anyone's going to mind regardless of what we play, because they're both as strong as each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty confident in this back four, and I think it'll give Carson the bit of solidity and bit of confidence that he will need on this fairly big occasion for him, even though he's very experienced. Moving into the midfield, we have put Fernandinho into the defensive midfield position because, believe it or not, at the age of 37, whatever he is, he no longer plays international football. So he is exempt from the suspension. He wasn't called upon to play for Brazil. Thank God we have him. He is the captain, he is the leader, and he's the solidity in that midfield. And just in front of him, we have Gundogan and Grealish. We know De Bruyne is just returning back from injury. He did train with the squad once or twice this week. I'd say he'll be on the bench and only called upon if it's really necessary. I think Pep is doing his best to hold off from summoning De Bruyne and Foden for as long as possible, because we know it's a long season ahead. You don't want these guys to pick up longer term injuries or do further damage. But this is still a really strong midfield, Dara.
Yeah, I don't think Foden's even going to be risked whatsoever. You're probably right in that. And De Bruyne, again, like you said, unless we get into the door straight, he won't come on. That midfield's good enough. It's 100% good enough. I mean, it's man for man what Leicester have as well. Now, they'd have Ndidi, they have Tielemans, maybe Maddison. I'm not 100% sure, but they have enough in that midfield to keep Leicester's one quiet. And then, like you said, Grealish, we saw him against Arsenal live. Fucking brilliant. Like, he was so much. He just has that key that can unlock everything now at this stage. And like, if you're having players like Torres ahead of him, like Sterling or Mahrez, like, it's going to be, if you're able to get in between the gap of their wing backs and centre halves, it's going to be tough stopping anyone breaking down that midfield.
Grealish, as we saw live in the stadium the other week against Arsenal, is one of those very few players, I think, in Europe that what I would describe as gets the bums off the seats. Whenever he gets the ball, people stand up. They want to see what he's going to do. You don't know what he's going to do. He's unpredictable. You know, he's got the back heels. He's got the flair. He's one of these stylish players, these sexy romantic signings that everyone loves and dreams of having. You know, like your Beckhams, your Ronaldos. It's where he's going to grow into. And people are even, some well-respected pundits and journalists are even saying they've already seen improvements in his game since just being under the influence of Pep and playing and training with the likes of De Bruyne, who he has shown unbelievable admiration for over the years. Anyway, as Dara said, our front three is Sterling on the left, Torres up front, and Mahrez on the right. I think all three of these are going through a pretty decent patch. I know for Manchester City anyway, Sterling has had a rough 12 months in and out of the team, maybe some poor performances or below par performances or performances that he wouldn't be satisfied with based on his high standards. But he did have a fantastic summer with England. And that's in that's in recent history, and he had a very good international break just gone by. Torres up front is our newfound striker. You know, all summer we were crying out for Harry Kane. We threw all our eggs into that basket, and we're not going to talk about that saga anymore. But he is coming through and showing what he's worth, and he's putting his hand up to say, I'm good enough to be this number 9. You know, I think he scored for Spain at least once, twice, and we saw him score against Arsenal. And I'm sure there's plenty more to come. He's still a really young man. Mahrez on the right, trusty as ever, really, really top player. I'm really becoming a fan of Mahrez, a big fan, whereas he was someone I was a bit unsure of for quite some time. But yeah, he's someone I trust now in the right wing. Dara, this front three, your thoughts?
I'd be in your camp. I kind of had a weird kind of dislike for Mahrez. I thought every time he come on, he didn't really look like one. I remember we watched the Cheltenham match there last would have been last year, wouldn't it? And he just looked like he didn't want to be there, just trotting around. But he's really since that period of him just scoring a couple of goals, especially against Paris, he's just endeared himself to everyone. So I don't mind him saying. But Sterling, see, I think I'm one of the brigade that wants him on the right. Like wants him starting on the right because of how good he was on the right. I know Luke does it. Joe wants him on the right as well. I want him on the right. Not sure about yourself, but he's just so much better when I don't trust him as much cutting in. He's always like, if you focus that player down the left, put it at the back post, he's always out. That's how most of his goals came for City, and there's nothing wrong with that. Being he performs best in that system, and like having him on the left, being the creative focal point there, just even trying to get him behind, he doesn't look the same as he was, but. I know it doesn't matter even if he's poor and he'll still put in the effort. And if you put in any effort against Leicester, I'm sure he'll look decent. But Torres, I don't see how you can drop him at all. He's just been absolutely unreal this season. I mean, he started off a bit poor against Tottenham. I don't think he did that, and he missed a sitter. But Norwich's movement again, just saw it was elite. And then again, like you said, he scored twice and assisted in the Arsenal match, and he was just man of the match, unplayable that day. But it's just he can pose such a threat. He poses such a threat to defenders, even to the midfielders who sit deep because they'll try track him and all. It's just his movement is the best part about his game. We've said it over and over again. I think that's going to be huge now when you're trying to break down like a 5 that they play.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with all three players really. But before we go into score predictions, I want to just make one point on Sterling and Torres kind of combined, which is I firmly believe with the direction Torres is going as a player. Now, I know as City fans, we have a tendency to really hype players up sometimes prematurely, and it puts pressure on them. But with the way he's actually playing and the direction he's going, I think he will actually be the key to unlocking that Sterling we used to know. Genuinely, I think we've had this conversation before with that Sterling only fell into a bit of a rough period because he was playing in a system that probably really didn't suit him, which was the false 9 system, playing with a De Bruyne beside him who was dropping deep to get the ball, and there's no one really for Sterling to link up with. But if Torres can sit and develop into this actual number 9, out and out number 9 role, which he is developing into nicely, I think that's only going to tee up Sterling for success and to look good again. Sterling had his best years, particularly when Aguero was beside him, looking really good in his fit prime years, and it made Sterling look good. Sterling requires a number 9 to bounce off, and I think Torres can and is developing into that. Before score predictions, what do you make of that kind of point I'm making?
You're bang on, and the way I say it is, if you think of Aguero, you think of a nippy striker who can get him behind and just finish as most chances he gets. That's what Torres turned into. Like, there's not. Whenever I see Torres go clean throw, I go, yeah, goal. Don't even have to look twice. Like, his movement is that good and just clinical. Like, he has that bit of clinicality that not much of the squad would have. That's why he's so valuable. That's why he starts week in, week out. I think having that year under Aguero, be it an Aguero's knees are made of cheese, he's learned so much from him. He's learned how to get him behind his movement again, come elite. That's because of the year we spent with Aguero. It's like the Delap and Kane comparisons we had. Remember, we were saying for ages, if Kane was there, Delap would become like the new Kane and stuff like that. It was a perfect year for him, and I do agree with you. He's gonna I think Sterling will knock soon. Give it a couple of more weeks. Like, you can't just expect him to come in after an international break and just be good straight away like that. And he's gonna be fighting with Foden for that place on the left, or even Mahrez or Jesus on the right. Like, it's gonna be like he's gonna want to just he's gonna want to get his head down and just score a few to make sure he's in there. And I think if there's not many people going to stop Sterling when he is determined, when he puts his mind to it, he will score. He'll score, assist, one or two.
Absolutely. He has one of the strongest mentalities in Europe. You know, he's coming up against so much abuse, so much hardship, and he still always comes through strong at the other end. But the ultimate point I'm making is give him some time to build some chemistry with Torres and see what comes of it. I think we're spoiled for depth and choice, which is exciting. Anyways, before we wrap up, as always, the score predictions. We're putting ourselves in the line and our ball knowledge in the line and saying what we think will happen. You can go first.
I think, as much as I've said I am confident, feeling good, it will be the full game. I think City win. I think City win 2-1, but it'll be hard fought. And it'll be one of those where we miss about 12 chances before we score.
2-1 from Dara. I'm going to go with a 3-1. I think we have more than enough firepower to break down the defence of Leicester. I think there's a goal or two at least in there for Torres with the confidence he's oozing right now from both club and international recent history. But unfortunately, I think the one goal will come because of Scott Carson lacking in game time. Simple as. He can't be sharp. I love Scott Carson, but he's a coach. He's a goalkeeping coach at the end of the day. And unfortunately, I do think there's a goal to come. I hope not. I hope he proves me wrong. I'm his biggest fan if that happens. 2-1 from Dara, 3-1 from me. Get your score predictions down below, and of course, tell us what you think of our predicted 11. Would you make any changes? Would you like to see anyone come in? I'm not sure there's much room for change with the system we play, and of course, the players we have available, and injuries, etc. But I still believe this is a pretty strong 11. Let us know what you think. Now, I'm not sure if there will be a watch along this Saturday due to the game not being televised. I'm not sure if there's any way we can watch it. If we can, we'll let you guys know. Those who come and watch the watch alongs every week may be eager to know. If you're in our Discord, we will let you know there. Do leave a like on this video as well if you enjoyed it. It's good to be back. The season is really starting to get underway. The Premier League is back. Champions League is back next week. And subscribe if you're new. We're very close to 400 subs. We'd appreciate that. We'll see you hopefully on Saturday with a watch along. If not, with a review. Good night. God bless.